Throughout her life, Her Majesty the Queen, my beloved mother, was an inspiration, an example to me and to all my family.
The royal world is in absolute chaos after King Charles made a jaw-dropping revelation on live television, exposing a horrifying secret about Queen Camilla that has left the nation stunned. What was meant to be a routine royal interview quickly spiraled into an explosive confession that no one saw coming. And just when it couldn't get more shocking, Prince William stepped in and dramatically ended it all. So, what exactly did Charles reveal, and why now? Today, we uncover the truth behind this royal bombshell. The King's heart-wrenching confession. Behind the gilded walls of Clarence House, where polished marble meets silent corridors, elegance often conceals unease. On that evening, the air felt unusually heavy, as if the chandeliers themselves trembled under the weight of what was about to unfold. King Charles III sat before the cameras, the golden light catching the fine lines on his pale, aging face. His once assured posture now seemed fragile, his fingers gripping the carved armrests of his chair, not in majesty, but in quiet desperation. Across from him, a veteran BBC journalist prepared to conduct what was meant to be a calm, reflective interview about courage, legacy, and the King's ongoing battle with cancer. It began smoothly, the kind of poised conversation royal watchers had seen 100 times before. But something about that night felt different. Perhaps it was the way Charles's eyes drifted when he spoke of mortality, or the tremor that occasionally slipped into his otherwise steady tone. Then came the moment no one could have predicted, when the mask of royalty gave way to something deeply human. When illness struck, he said softly, almost to himself, "I saw Camilla's true nature, and it frightened me more than death itself." The words hung in the air like a chill. The journalist froze.
Nature is a separate thing from us, and we can just exploit and control and suppress.
Her pen motionless as the cameras kept rolling. It was not just a statement. It was a confession, a fracture in the facade of a monarchy that had built its survival on silence and control. The public would later describe it as the moment the King's truth slipped past his crown. For decades, Camilla Parker Bowles had been the woman Britain loved to hate and, eventually, learned to tolerate. Once branded the villain in the fairy tale of Diana and Charles, she had endured years of ridicule and rejection. Yet, through quiet patience and careful reinvention, she rose, step by calculated step, to become Queen Consort. Her image softened, her presence normalized. She became the face of composure, discretion, and support. What many called resilience, others saw as a strategy, a slow, graceful climb to power disguised as loyalty. Now, with one trembling admission, that carefully woven story began to unravel. Charles' tone was not one of anger, but of weary sorrow. A man realizing too late that love and control can wear the same face. His eyes, glistening beneath the studio lights, carried the ache of betrayal. Not the betrayal of scandal, but of trust, the kind that festers quietly behind closed doors. When the interview aired, Britain gasped. Living rooms filled with disbelief and hushed conversations.
Ich bin go antap, long Independence Hill, 50-plus-year Igopinnis.
The love story once portrayed as redemption, a romance that had survived scandal and loss, suddenly looked like tragedy. For the first time, the monarch appeared not as a ruler draped in duty, but as a man undone by the very heart he had fought the world to defend. Within the palace walls, a storm of truth brews. Camilla, once triumphant over scandal and judgment, now faces her deepest reckoning, doubt. Her carefully built power trembles beneath Charles's confession, shattering the quiet harmony they once shared. As night falls, Charles sits alone, watching fragile carnations bend yet endure, realizing the illusion of unity has broken. Elsewhere, Camilla confronts a reflection that no longer reassures her. The crown still glitters, but its cracks glisten beneath the light. What was once a love story of endurance becomes a haunting reckoning, proof that when love seeks a throne, something sacred must be sacrificed. Could Camilla have acquired so much power during King Charles's battle with cancer? Did she deliberately take advantage of his health to acquire more power? Let's delve into the details of how Camilla started taking control during Charles's illness. House. Camilla's ruthless power seizure. February 2024. London lies under a pewter sky. The air damp and heavy when the announcement breaks. King Charles III has cancer. The words flash across screens, echo through radios, and within minutes ripple through the kingdom like a sudden winter gust. Crowds drift toward Buckingham Palace, faces pale with shock, carnations trembling in cold fingers. In pubs, conversations hush into murmured prayers. Online, timelines flood with sympathy and disbelief. The monarchy, still fragile under the weight of a new reign, faces an unexpected storm that no coronation could have prepared for. Yet amid the unease, one figure stands steady against the wind. Queen Camilla, draped in fur, her expression calm but unreadable, she steps before the cameras outside Clarence House. Her voice, soft yet firm, carries across the world. The king endures. Let love fuel him. Those few words, simple and deliberate, shift something in the public mood. Long divided between resentment and reluctant acceptance, the nation begins to soften toward her. The tabloids, ever hungry for a heroine, find a new headline: the Iron Lady of the Crown. For decades she had been mocked, judged, and misunderstood. The woman who once lived in the shadow of another's heartbreak. Now, through poise and quiet endurance, she stands as the image of devotion under fire. But the queen the cameras adore is only one side of the truth.
We cannot help but think of those for whom the devastating effects of conflict.
Behind the heavy oak doors of Clarence House, beneath the dull hum of rain against frosted windows, another Camilla emerges, calculating, vigilant, and unwavering. The long years of waiting have sharpened her instincts. She knows that, in times of crisis, emotion must bow to control. Around a polished mahogany table, her inner circle gathers. A silver-haired lawyer who speaks in riddles and holds too many royal secrets. Eliza Hargrove, her witty and fearless confidant, and a loyal aide whose silence is his greatest skill. Her voice is low, almost tender, yet unyielding. Everything changes now. No mistakes. Within days, shifts ripple through the palace corridors. Dr. Langford, the king's physician, is quietly reassigned to an overseas post. Edward Hale, his long-trusted secretary, is temporarily relocated. Access to the king tightens. Even Prince William finds his calls delayed, his letters screened. From this moment on, nothing reaches Charles without first passing through Camilla's hands. She knows what few ever admit. Power doesn't vanish, it migrates. And now, for the first time, it has migrated to her. Late at night, she stands before her mirror, the pearls around her neck, Charles's gift from their secret years.
We also share with so many of you in the United Kingdom, in all the countries.
Catch the lamplight like drops of memory. She traces them lightly and whispers, half prayer, half promise, for us, for the throne. But shadows linger behind her reflection. What if he recovers completely? What if he uncovers the choices made in his absence? The thought grips her heart. Loyalty and survival have never been easy companions. Outside, London's rain beats against the palace roof. To the world, she is the picture of steadfast love. Inside, the palace hums with quiet tension, calls diverted, loyalties tested, truths buried. The monarchy, once ceremonial and slow, now runs to the rhythm of her command. Camilla has not inherited history. She has crafted it. Through decades of patience and pain, she has learned that to survive royalty, one must master it. And as thunder rolls over Westminster, the world prays for the king's recovery, unaware that behind the palace walls, another story is being written. Text wrapping break, the story of a woman who, after years of living in love's shadow, has finally stepped into the dangerous light of power. Could Camilla have been planning to take over the crown since the scandal days? How was she able to get into the royal family? How was she able to get the approval of the late Queen Elizabeth? Let's dive into the details of Camilla's remarkable rise. From scandal to sovereign. Camilla's journey from a condemned mistress to the queen beside King Charles stands as one of the most astonishing transformations in modern royal history. A saga woven from scandal, patience, and silent perseverance. Once dismissed as an unworthy presence in royal circles, she is now one of its most enduring figures, the woman who weathered storms that would have shattered most. Born into privilege yet far from royalty, Camilla Shand was known for her easy laughter, confidence, and the kind of charm that drew people in effortlessly. When she first met the young Prince Charles in the early 1970s, there was an instant connection, a warmth and friendship that soon grew into love. But royal expectations and duty had other plans. Charles was pushed toward a suitable match, and Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles. Their paths, however, never truly separated. What began as a friendship quietly rekindled into an affair that, when revealed, would send shockwaves through the monarchy. The revelation of their relationship in the 1990s, complete with the infamous leaked phone tapes, turned Camilla into the most vilified woman in Britain.
Even as we grieve, we give thanks for this most faithful life.
The public, fiercely loyal to the radiant Princess Diana, painted her as the homewrecker who had destroyed a fairy tale. Tabloids tore into her daily, her image splashed across covers with cruel headlines. Following Diana's tragic death in 1997, public outrage reached its peak. Camilla withdrew entirely, living behind closed doors, isolated from the world. She would later admit that the experience was unbearable, something she wouldn't wish on her worst enemy. But even in those quiet, painful years, Charles never let go. Determined to protect and eventually legitimize their bond, he began a carefully planned effort to shift the world's perception of Camilla. With the help of his shrewd deputy private secretary, Mark Bolland, Operation PB, short for Project Buff, Camilla's nickname, was born. Every move was strategic, every appearance calculated. In 1999, their first public outing at the Ritz Hotel, orchestrated down to the minute, sent a clear message. This was no longer a secret relationship. Gradually, she was introduced into royal circles, attending events, charity functions, and family gatherings. Each time, the public saw a little more of her quiet humor, her warmth, her lack of pretension. Slowly, the tide began to turn. Still, the journey was far from smooth. Her first meeting with Prince William was leaked to the press.
So you can't be the same as the sovereign if you're the Prince of Wales or the heir.
A painful reminder of how fragile her position remained. Yet, instead of retreating, Camilla adapted. She learned to move with grace through an environment that had once despised her, offering no headlines, no drama, only steadiness. The real shift came in 2000 when Queen Elizabeth II, after years of polite distance, finally extended an olive branch. It was a private but powerful gesture of acceptance. 5 years later, when Charles and Camilla married in a subdued civil ceremony in Windsor, the Queen's public blessing, jokingly likening their union to a successful racehorse reaching the finish line, spoke volumes. The woman once called that wicked woman had found her place, not by force, but through humility and endurance. As years passed, Camilla's steadfast loyalty reshaped her image completely. She became known not for scandal, but for her calm presence, her work ethic, and her ability to steady Charles's often restless temperament.
I mean, it was wonderful, the reception. You know, I couldn't believe how warm.
Her humor softened rooms. Her empathy won allies. When the late Queen declared her sincere wish that Camilla be known as Queen Consort, it was more than a royal decree. It was a public redemption, decades in the making. And so, on the day she sat beside King Charles at Westminster Abbey, crowned before the world, she embodied more than royalty. She represented survival, transformation, and the quiet power of love that endures ridicule, exile, and time itself. Once the symbol of betrayal, she had become the embodiment of forgiveness. As royal historian Robert Lacey aptly noted, Camilla's story is now the dominant thread of Charles's reign. Not one of conquest or grandeur, but of acceptance, redemption, and a love story that refused to die. Her crown, perhaps more than any other in recent royal memory, was not simply won. It was earned, line by line, through years of endurance and grace under fire. How did Camilla use her authority in ways that raised suspicions? What did she do that suggested she was holding tight to the crown with Charles's ill health? Let's find out. The Midnight Crisis and Hidden Witnesses. Fast forward to March 2025, when the first blush of spring dares to brighten the palace gardens. The cherry blossoms sway gently in the breeze, What did she do that suggested she was holding tight to the crown with Charles's ill health? Let's find out. The Midnight Crisis and Hidden Witnesses. Fast forward to March 2025, when the first blush of spring dares to brighten the palace gardens. The cherry blossoms sway gently in the breeze, but their beauty feels cruel, mocking the storm brewing within Buckingham's ancient walls. Inside, King Charles sits hunched in his study, surrounded by books, letters, and half-read reports on royal gardens he can no longer tend. His once firm hands tremble as he adjusts his glasses, the words on the page swimming together in a blur. The chemotherapy has thinned his body and dulled his strength, yet duty holds him captive. To stop would be to admit weakness, and that is something no monarch, no man raised to rule, can easily do. But fate doesn't ask permission. A wave of pain strikes like lightning. His heart begins to race violently. The world tilts. The inked words melt into shadow. His vision spirals, narrowing until the study fades to black. Then comes the fall, slow, helpless. The sound of his body hitting the marble floor echoing through the corridors like a death knell. Moments after the palace alarms sound, doctors rush through hushed corridors to reach the fallen king. Orders echo, "Get the medical team!" But before Prince William and Princess Kate can be alerted, the doors open to reveal Queen Camilla. Calm and commanding, she halts the chaos with a single word: stop. Her authority fills the room. She forbids anyone from contacting the heirs, insisting, "That's my order." As queen, the medical staff obey in tense silence. Under her command, an unmarked ambulance quietly slips out a back gate, its siren off, carrying the unconscious king away from public eyes. As dawn breaks, Camilla releases a carefully crafted statement. His Majesty the King is resting peacefully. No truth, no panic, just control. But someone has seen everything. Lily Hargreaves, a young maid polishing silver nearby, witnesses the Queen's secretive order. Hidden in the shadows, she records it on her phone. Every word, every chilling tone. Later, alone in her small quarters, Lily replays the clip, her hands trembling. "Halt! No calls to them. My order as queen." The sound pierces her faith in the monarchy she once revered. The truth she's captured feels dangerous. She knows that revealing it could destroy her life, but keeping silent would make her an accomplice. Torn between fear and conscience, Lily realizes that in a palace built on loyalty, truth has become the most treacherous act of all. Morning creeps in through hospital blinds. Charles awakens in a sterile suite, his chest heavy, his throat dry. The rhythmic beeping of machines replaces the sounds of the palace he's known all his life. Camilla sits beside him, a soft smile painted on her face. She brushes his hand gently, her tone syrupy calm. "Rest, my love. Everything is under control." But her words only deepen the unease clawing at his mind. Control? Of what? And from whom? His eyes search hers, reading beyond the rehearsed compassion. Something in him, perhaps the old, sharp intuition of a king, stirs with suspicion. Why was William not called? Why the secrecy? The seed of distrust burrows deep. From that moment, the palace becomes a battlefield of whispers. Charles begins to test the edges of her truth, sending discreet inquiries, reading the faces of his courtiers. Camilla, sensing his doubt, tightens her circle. Staff are reshuffled. Phones are checked. Loyalty is weighed like gold dust. And somewhere in the servants' quarters, Lily still has that recording, her trembling fingers hovering over the send button. She doesn't know whom to trust or what chain of chaos her courage might unleash. But the more she replays it, the more her fear turns into resolve. For centuries, empires have fallen not by war or invasion, but by a single act of conscience. And as the spring sun rises over London's spires, one question hangs in the air like prophecy. What if one maid's courage could topple a kingdom built on silence? Where was William in the middle of these? How did he get to know about his stepmother's plots? What was his reaction like when he found out? Let's dig into the details of William's response to Camilla's plots. The heir's secret rebellion and unbreakable bonds. Across the quiet grace of Windsor's Adelaide cottage, Princess Kate moves through her days like a soft storm, part royal icon, part devoted mother. Morning sunlight filters through nursery curtains, mingling with the scent of crayons and tea. Between royal duties and bedtime stories, she balances crowns and crayons with unshaken poise. Yet beneath her calm exterior lingers a wound that stings. Camilla's deliberate exclusion, a reminder that gentleness in the royal family can be mistaken for weakness. But Kate's strength has always been forged in tenderness, her silence often her sharpest weapon. Each day, almost like a ritual, she slips quietly into Clarence House, the king's temporary refuge. No fanfare, no press, no guards announcing her arrival. Just Kate, a tray of homemade soup in hand, her soft voice filling the silence of recovery. "Papa," she says with a smile, "try Grandma's ginger chicken today." She never speaks of pain or palace politics. Instead, she fills the room with the warmth of home. Stories of George wobbling on his bicycle, Charlotte's latest drawing of a unicorn, Louis's infectious laughter that echoes through the halls of memory. Her leather-bound notebook rests on the bedside table, a meticulous record of the king's healing. "Half bowl down, add turmeric tomorrow," she writes with a nurse's care and a daughter's devotion. Between spoonfuls and soft laughter, she reads aloud from Deborah James, the late cancer warrior whose courage inspired millions. "Love fiercely, regret nothing." Her words float through the room like a lullaby, softening the air and soothing the king's wearied soul. And against all odds, Charles begins to heal. His appetite returns, his humor rekindles. One morning, he jokes about leaving it all behind to become a farmer. "You're my light in the dark, Catherine," he tells her, eyes glistening with gratitude. To him, she is not merely the Princess of Wales. She is a lifeline, a reminder of sincerity in a palace obsessed with image. Weeks later, at a cancer survivors gala, the king speaks publicly for the first time about his recovery. "I owe my strength," he says warmly, "to the nourishment of both body and soul." Cameras flash, the crowd applauds. But before the truth can breathe, Camilla moves swiftly. Her PR team floods headlines overnight. Camilla's steadfast support restores the king. The narrative twists, erasing Kate's quiet heroism and painting her as a decorative bystander. One cruel tabloid asks, "Housewife or heir?" That night, by the fireside, Kate's facade finally cracks. Sitting beside William, tears catch the glow of the flames. "I sought no glory," she whispers, "just his health." Her voice trembles with quiet heartbreak. William's expression hardens. The careful prince becomes the strategist. Rage, cold and methodical, burns beneath his calm. He gathers a shadow team, trusted security officers, discreet lawyers, and MI5 cyber experts to uncover the truth. Like a chess master, he plans each move. What they find sends ripples through the monarchy. Logs reveal secret ambulance entries. Files show £500,000 in fabricated PR campaigns. And finally, a USB from Lily, a loyal staffer, lands on William's desk. It contains an audio file, Camilla's voice, sharp and unguarded, forbidding contact between the king and his family. William paces the room, fury boiling over. "This is treachery, not ambition," he says, the words heavy with betrayal. Days later, as he visits his father, he finds a note tucked into Kate's notebook in Charles' familiar handwriting. Her truth. "Son, protect us." A private meeting at Windsor follows. Just Charles, William, and Kate. No aides, no advisors. They decide on dignity over drama, confront Camilla privately, preserve the crown's dignity, and keep the monarchy intact. But the Queen Consort moves first. Desperation drives her. She offers £50,000 to silence Lily, scrambles to bribe editors, and spins new lies. Yet the walls close in. Evidence mounts. Emails, footage, intercepted calls, all pointing to her deception. Finally, in a sealed chamber within Buckingham Palace, the truth plays out before the king. Voices echo through the marble walls. Camilla trembles as the recordings end. "For the throne!" she cries, tears cutting through layers of pride. Charles's face, once tender, turns to stone. "Trust," he says quietly, "once shattered, cannot be mended by fear." From that day, her isolation began. The corridors of Buckingham grow colder, her footsteps lonelier. No warmth greets her in the mornings, no comfort in the halls she once commanded. Only echoes remain, echoes of ambition, betrayal, and the love she tried to bury. Meanwhile, in Adelaide Cottage, Kate watches the sunrise with her children. She hums softly as Louis paints at her feet. Her heart, though scarred, beats steadily. She does not seek headlines or revenge. She has something far more enduring: truth, grace, and the quiet strength that even crowns cannot command. Now that the truth has been known, what was done to Camilla? Will she be able to bear the consequences of her actions? How did William end it all, behind the scene? Let's delve into the king's confessions that magnified Prince William's position, and the reaction of the public, the explosive fallout, and lingering shadows. August 12, 2025. The world wakes to tremors from Britain's oldest institution. The BBC releases The King's Confession, a 2-hour documentary that grips a nation. From crowded Manchester factories to London's elegant lounges, millions watch in stunned silence as King Charles finally breaks it all, his voice trembling yet firm. He speaks not as a monarch, but as a man stripped bare. He recounts the secret purges at the palace, the hidden emotional collapse that nearly consumed him, the quiet strength of Kate, who became the family's anchor, and, most shocking of all, Camilla's betrayal. His words cut like sharpened glass, slicing through decades of carefully built illusion. At Clarence House, Camilla sits alone in the dim glow of a drawing room lamp, the television flickering before her. Her eyes widen as each word lands, disbelief clawing at her chest. When Charles describes the mask that hid her true face, terrifying, something inside her shatters. She throws a glass at the wall, the sharp crack echoing through the still room. Shards scatter across the carpet, one slicing her hand. Blood seeps through trembling fingers, mixing with her tears and mascara. A queen reduced not by scandal, but by truth. By dawn, Britain is in uproar. Newsstands scream, "Traitors fall." Crowds gather outside Buckingham Palace and Downing Street, chanting, "Camilla out." Hashtags trend globally. Commentators pick sides. Charities that once boasted her patronage quietly withdraw their ties. Close friends stop answering her calls. Even Eliza, her oldest confidant, sends no reply. The silence cuts deeper than the headlines. Meanwhile, Charles leans on William and Kate, the monarchy's new heartbeats. The couple rises to meet the storm with dignity, visiting hospitals, promoting mental health causes, walking hand in hand through crowds that weep and cheer in equal measure. Their compassion becomes the crown's redemption song. The people see in them what they had longed for, a monarchy human enough to heal. Camilla now wanders the grand yet lonely halls of her palace, where portraits of forgotten kings and queens watch her in quiet judgment. The golden mirrors that once flattered her now reflect only emptiness, a woman weighed down by memories and mistakes. Each tick of the clock echoes like a cruel reminder of how power fades and affection drifts away. The crown that once felt like victory now presses heavily on her head, its shine dulled by sorrow. She had fought fiercely for love, for place, for acceptance. Yet now, even love itself has turned its back, leaving her alone with regret. For Charles, cancer may have spared his life, but it stripped him of illusion. He emerges frailer yet freer, his heart no longer shackled by pretense. His confession becomes both his penance and his peace, a revelation that power cannot purify love, nor can secrecy protect it. Still, Britain whispers, can the fallen queen ever find redemption? Or will she fade into history's shadow, remembered only for heartbreak and scandal? The cameras have moved on, yet the story feels unfinished. Behind palace walls, secrets stir, unwritten chapters waiting to unfold. So, as the nation debates, one question lingers like smoke in the air. What moves you more, the unwavering devotion of William and Kate, or the haunting solitude of a queen left to face herself? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.